You're listening to Aviation Marketing Hangar Flying, the community for the best sales and marketing professionals in the aviation industry. You can't learn to fly just from a book. You learn from other pilots who know the tools, the skills, and the territory. Your hosts, John and Paula Williams, are your sales and marketing test pilots. They take the risks for you and share strategies, relevant examples, hacks, and how-tos. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes so you won't miss a thing.
Welcome to Aviation Marketing Hangar Flying episode number 82. Broken sales processes and speed bumps in your social media. So I'm Paula Williams.
And I'm John Williams.
And we are ABCI, and ABCI's mission is
to assist with the sales and marketing of aviation product and service companies.
You say that different every time.
I try to. I don't want people to get bored.
Oh, no, but branding is, we want it to be the same every time.
Well, then we should write it down so I do it explicitly.
There you go. Okay, so lesson of the day, branding. Say your tagline the same way every time. Use the same words. So anyway, if you have questions, comments, or anything else about this episode, you can use the hashtag AvGeekMarketing, and we respond on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, social media of your choice, also on our blog and our YouTube channel. So the fastest way to get a response is probably on our blog, but we do watch everything as much as we can, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So big ideas for today's episode are that, number one, social media is a great entry point into a sales process.
Notice it says sales process.
Exactly. It is not a sales process in and of itself.
No.
Okay. Number two, most people do it badly. And number three, the most common failures are in list building and a sales process. So we'll talk about those two things and how to do them better using social media. So in episode number 80, we talked about the rotation speed that is required to get an aircraft off the ground. And everybody in aviation knows, is familiar with that concept. So we want to use it as something that's kind of familiar. When you are doing marketing, you have to get up to a certain speed in order to get a sale off the ground. You can't put a bunch of speed bumps in front of your customer and expect that sale to really take place. They have to build up their confidence just like you have to build up thrust in an airplane to get it off the ground, right?
Yes.
Okay. And when you have a big disconnect between your social media and everything else in the world, it's like falling off the end of the aircraft carrier without a next step or without having sufficient thrust to go where you want to go, right?
Then it gets expensive.
And wet.
Yep.
Right. And most people are doing exactly that. They don't have sufficient motivation for people to take the next step when they leave your social media to take the next step with you or to do anything else with you. So, you're basically leaving them hanging without doing anything with them that would support the sales process. So every time you stop, you lose momentum, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you need to make these connections between your marketing activities kind of seamless for the person that is doing the buying. They go to your social media, they find something interesting, they want to take the next step, they maybe want to go to your website, they maybe want to give you a call, they want to do something else. And you need to make sure that that next step is clear and also that it's super easy for them, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is where most people have a problem. So we're going to get into the details of how this works and, ways that you can smooth that out and make sure that your next step is clear and safe and obvious and easy.
Hopefully high-level details.
Exactly. Okay. So this is a marketing process that we used in episode number 80. So today we're going to go into a little bit more detail about that first bit, right? In this situation, and this is actually a pretty good way to use social media, is to have it as an entry point. People find you on social media. Facebook is actually a pretty good search engine. So is LinkedIn. I think it's number 4 or 5 on the web in terms of the places that people search for information.
Really? What is?
LinkedIn, I think, is number 5. Facebook is a little bit down from there as far as their search activity, but it's usually the number 1 to 3 visited website on the internet. So lots and lots of people are on Facebook.
Yeah, but you said search for information.
Right. A lot of people are on Facebook and accidentally run into information because you've placed an ad in front of them. But people also look in the search. There's a little search window at the top of a Facebook page where you can look for who do I know that knows something about aircraft maintenance, as an example, or who do I know that works at Cutter Aviation, or something like that. So if somebody's interested in a particular topic, they might use Facebook since they're there already.
So you're searching for personal information.
You are searching for companies. You're searching for people. You're searching for...
You just said search for who I know that does.
Yeah, exactly. You might know a company, or you might
said
know
who?
a person. You might know a company, or you might know a person. Companies have pages on Facebook as well. It started out as just a person-to-person network, for college students and things like that, where you could only look up people. But over the last 5 years or so, they have really beefed up the business side of Facebook so that people can put business pages, and you can search for business pages. You can also search for groups and other kinds of things. So, yeah, cool stuff.
Okay.
All right.
Just wanted you to clarify.
Okay. Thank you. That's why you're here, to keep me honest and non-nerdy. Okay, so starting with the social media posts, and then let's say that goes to the next step. So rather than falling off the edge of the aircraft carrier, you're going to have them do something from the Facebook post. So let's say you're going to have them click a button and download a free report, right? Okay. And then from that free report, they go to a consultation or something like that. So what a lot of people do is they will put a lot of material on their social media that has nothing to do with any of this. They're what we call dead-end posts. And there's nothing wrong with doing these. You might put an insightful article out there. But the purpose of that insightful article is to build your list. It's not to connect them to your free report or your consultation or to make sales. So you can't hold that article responsible for having a return on investment, right?
Not at all.
Exactly.
Not if there's no CTA to go with it.
Exactly. CTA meaning call to action, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that insightful article might help build your list because it's having people share it, and it's also building their credibility in your organization because you're sharing useful information and you're showing that you know what you're talking about in the industry. So it is serving a purpose, but it is not serving a sales purpose. With me so far?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So that did not work as far as a velocity of your marketing process.
Yeah, it was a dead end, as you said.
Exactly. Okay, so let's talk about an interesting quote. You can put an interesting quote out there by Eddie Rickenbacker or, something really neat out there. And a lot of people share it, and it goes viral, and it's cool, and it's interesting, and everything is fabulous.
But it doesn't help any.
Exactly. It does help you build your list, but it does not help people find your free report or download a consultation or schedule a consultation or do anything else that's part of your sales process. Okay, so you do another insightful article. You're going to have to figure out what the ratio is for your particular social media channel. For a lot of people, it is 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 or 3-to-1.
Meaning, what's 2 and what's 3?
Do one list building activity for one sales activity. Okay, or up to 3 list building activities for one sales activity. Okay, so that makes sense, but a lot of people never get past these list building activities, and so then they have hundreds of likes on their social media posts, but they've never made a sale.
Yeah, and then you got to say, so what?
Exactly. You can take all those likes to the bank, and
that's what you'll get.
Show up at the teller window with a printout of all of your Facebook likes, and still not be able to pay your rent or pay your payroll. So it really does not help you unless you take the next step, and that is download our free report, right?
And when you do that, then before you let them do that, you have to ask them some questions for some of their information.
Exactly. So if you get them to download your free report, and in the process of downloading that report, they had to fill out a form with their name and email and everything else, then you've moved them one step further in your sales process.
Which means that report's got to be useful to them.
Exactly. So, all of this is assuming that you're doing quality posts. People like what you say. You're building your credibility. You're building your list. And then you get them to download a report. They also find that credible and useful and everything else, right?
Then they pass it along.
Absolutely. Okay. Or you can skip over that free report and maybe put in a post that says, request a consultation today. That is still moving them along the sales process, maybe even further along the sales process.
Exactly.
Okay. But you do want to test those things out and maybe try some different things and say, okay, you know what? People don't want the free report. They just want a consultation because they want really custom information. They don't really care what the report says. They want to know about their own situation. So then you'll realize, you know what? We're not going to spend any more money on that free report. We're going to have to find another way to, make this more appealing. But you learn something about your customers in that process. So, then they don't necessarily need the free report. They just go straight to the consultation and life goes on. So, social media roadblocks. Thing number one is not having realistic goals. If you put out nothing but quotes and articles and then you wonder why you're not making any sales from your social media, we just explained why that's happening, right?
That's right.
Okay. But you do have to have a decent list before you start putting sales activities out there because, let's say 10 people like your Facebook page, and then you offer a free report on, 10 reasons to buy a Piper Cherokee. Of the 10 people on your list, how many of those are likely to be even interested in a Piper Cherokee?
Exactly.
Okay, you have to have a pretty decent list before you start doing sales activities. So there's nothing wrong with list building activities, but you have to recognize that that's what you're doing and not just be messing around with social media, which is what a lot of people do.
Right.
Okay. So list building activities include things like quotes, articles, photos, charts, graphs, jokes, any number of things, videos, fun things.
But whatever it is, you have to be exactly accurate. Mm-hmm. Precisely accurate.
Exactly, because you're building your credibility.
That's right.
Based on the information that you're providing. So you get a reputation.
That's right. And then when you go to ask them to fill out a form to get something even better, they say, oh, okay.
Right. So I would say you want to do nothing but list building until you get to a certain number. And that number is different for every company. The number 1,000 is usually a really good number because then you have some statistical chance of having some number of people who are interested in your product or service at any given time.
Plus, isn't there something on Facebook needs a minimum of 1,000 so you can use it?
Yeah, some of the ad targeting options require a list of 1,000 before you'll even have the opportunity to do some of the cooler advertising activities where you do more specific targeting and things like that. So that is great. Once you get to a certain number, then you can start doing things like questions and engagement, like, are you flying somewhere neat this weekend? And then you get people to actually reply and send in pictures and things. Engagement is even better than just liking your page because then they're actually participating with you and they're starting to build a relationship where they at least trust that you're not going to troll them. Right?
Right. Okay,
so all of that stuff is good and all of that stuff is worthwhile, but you want to make sure that you've got it planned so that, if it's worth it to you to spend an hour or 2 hours a week doing list building activities, that's worth something to you if it eventually turns into something else, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And then the second part of that is if you don't do the second part, then the first part is completely wasted. And the second part is the sales process activities. And the two that we used in this example are download a free report or request a free consultation. But whatever that thing is that moves them along the sales process, there has to be a step that takes them beyond social media.
Yeah, and I can't stress that too much, because we've had clients that refused to do sales processes and wondered why they weren't selling anything.
Exactly. They've done years of interesting quotes, articles, photos, charts, graphs, all that stuff.
But refused to get into a sales process.
Yeah, and they spend 3, 4, 5 hours a week on social media, maybe even getting to the point of questions and engagement, but they never get beyond that. And, then they wonder, why is it that social media isn't working for me?
That's right. Well, it is. They just aren't using it correctly.
Exactly. It is doing exactly what it's supposed to do.
Well,
and that
it's
is
doing exactly what they ask it to do.
Yep, list building. So that's cool up to the point where it's not.
Right.
Once you figure out how much time and money and energy you've spent building a list, that list is only as good as how responsive those people are and how likely they are to buy.
And how well you built it. Mm-hmm. If you were accurate and precise throughout all of the information you laid out, then it should be a good list.
Exactly.
But then you've got to use it as a list.
Exactly. Right. Okay, so next steps, we have a digital marketing process that basically what's included with digital marketing is we do an analysis of any digital marketing that you're doing currently, and we improve on that. So, if it's LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, retargeting, also we have a system that allows us to see what's on your website or who is on your website, and what companies are visiting your website, and providing that kind of information in our digital marketing package.
And if you don't have digital marketing going on, we can certainly help you get started and find shape.
Exactly. So, if you're already doing some of this and it's not working the way you want to, or if you think you want to get started with some of this, either way, this is a great package because it starts with that analysis and then it moves into doing a lot of this work for you. For some of our clients, it ends up being a great partnership because, whatever level they're comfortable with participating on social media, we like to take it to the next level and suggest improvements that are going to help move things along your sales process and help you make more sales from the activities you're already doing, or doing all of this for you, and basically kind of your social media valet is what we become.
Exactly.
Okay. So if you hate social media, we'll do it for you. If you love social media, we'll help you do it better.
Exactly.
Okay. So what's up with the insiders? The folks that we're doing social media with, and if you want to see some examples of the social media that we're doing, Special Services Corporation, the Aero Expo Panama Pacifico, WX24 Pilot, which is a great weather app. Those are social media accounts that we are assisting with, and with different levels of partnerships. Doug Goldstrom is really fantastic at SSC with responding to customers and everything else, and we just do a little bit of pointing for him to help him spend his time in good ways, because he is wearing a bunch of hats and doing a bunch of things, and his time is really, really valuable. Aero Expo Panama Pacifico did a lot of live video and other fantastic things using their social media channels to advertise in a really interesting market. I was amazed at how well Facebook did in Latin America, in English and Spanish. So, that's a really great example that you can look at for, some of the activities that really worked for them. WX24 Pilot is brand new. We just started working with them recently, and they have a really neat weather app that is like nothing I've ever seen.
That thing, for those of you that remember the flight service stations when they actually provided service.
Yeah, service.
I mean,
what a concept.
They would interpret all the charts, the prog charts, all the radar, all the teletype stuff. This thing does that for you at the touch of a button. Mm-hmm. And provides you with, it just lays it out. It's just like instant flight planning. Mm-hmm. Amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really a neat weather app, but it is kind of complex. So, a lot of people, I think, in the culture will just kind of download apps and very casually play with them and expect them to just work. This is a serious amount of information for serious pilots and people who are really serious about weather, as everyone should be that is flying. So it is definitely worth the time to learn to use it.
Yeah, but he has a video that shows you how to use it.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you're flying a J3 cross country below all the airspace and you're staying at 500 AGL, this thing you need.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't work for the guy other than for marketing, but I'm telling you something, this is an amazing thing.
Right, absolutely. And what we're doing with social media with them is helping to break down some of those more complex things that you can do with it into what we call information snacks, because it's really hard to get people to sit down for a long tutorial these days, and then they may not remember what they learned. So, these little information snacks are little things that you can do. Did you know that you can also do this with this app? And that's really good for a lot of aviation companies because they sell a complex product or service that people don't necessarily know everything they need to know about it. And so using social media for those information snacks is a really good way of helping make that work, right?
Yeah, I just remember flying into Joliet, Illinois, in a light twin, and it would, it was winter time, and so we got ready to leave on Sunday, and you call flight service on the ground, and then you get in the airplane, and you can't talk to them until you get up in the pattern elevation. So we got up there, and I said, like a weather update before I file IFR to where I was going, and the guy comes back and he says, I think he said 3 thunderstorms, 4 tornadoes, and ice along my current flight path.
No.
I said, thank you very much, cancel IFR, and we landed. We waited till the next day. But if I'd had this app, well, we didn't have iPhones back then, but we'd had smartphones and the app, man, I would have figured it out on the ground and just never even taken off.
Right, exactly. And that's one of the really cool things about it that I've seen is, and here we could go on all day about this app, but you can change the departure time and then watch how your entire flight changes, because it adjusts for the time that you're likely to be at any given point along the way.
Yeah, you just put in your TAS or your expected true airspeed and you're good to go.
Exactly. So then you can just say, let me depart an hour later and the weather will be fine. Which is so much better than, having to guess and, do all those things across all those data points by hand. So
anyway.
Yeah, carrying on. Follow Fridays are a really good way to find out what's going on in aviation marketing and social media. Just about every Friday, we have some kind of an activity that we do with our group, and you can follow that along on ABCI's Facebook page is probably the best way to see those kinds of things. And we'll either have a list of Facebook pages to follow, a list of LinkedIn pages to follow, a list of Twitter pages to follow, some ideas about things that you can do with your social media to follow your top 10 list or your top 20 list or further your sales process using your social media. So those are free. Anybody can play along from the studio audience, and that's a really nice way to stay connected to the aviation industry and social media.
Of course.
Of course. So go sell more stuff.
America needs the business, quote Zig Ziglar.
Absolutely. So do subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Play, and please do leave us a review on iTunes. Those make us very happy. And also let us know what you'd like to hear. If you have an idea for a future podcast or somebody you'd like us to interview or anything you'd like to know more about, anything driving you crazy about marketing and aviation, there's probably a lot of that going around. We'll see you next week.
Have a great time. Ciao.
Thanks for joining us for Aviation Marketing Hangar Flying, the best place to learn what really works in sales and marketing in the aviation industry. Remember to subscribe on iTunes and leave a rating.
good.